cylinder is rotated in the direction the stop notch or the lock notch is pointing in. Right here you have what looks like an arrowhead. This is pointing in the direction your cylinder rotates in. So example with this one, it's pointing downward. This cylinder rotates in a counterclockwise rotation. If the lock notch arrowhead is pointing up, that'll actually be in a clockwise manner. So here, very simple. Another way to verify what direction your cylinder rotates in, take a look at your owner's manual. Loading a revolver, first step you want to do, press your cylinder release latch, open your cylinder up, cradle it by placing your thumb right inside like this, and it gives you full access to your chambers of your cylinder, and it also keeps the firearm in a good stable position while you're holding it one-handed. Very simple, just take your cartridges, place them inside the chambers. You can rotate the cylinder as you go. Close your cylinder, go ahead and lock it in place. Firearm is ready to fire. This firearm is a single action and double action revolver, meaning I can place it in the single action and fire, or I can go ahead and pull the trigger and the firearm will discharge at that time. To unload, open your cylinder release latch, press on your ejector rod, verify all chambers of the cylinder are empty. Firearm is now safe to place in storage. Cocking and decocking a revolver. To cock, go ahead and pull the hammer back using the thumb from your firing hand. Now you can see that the firearm is in the cocked position and ready to fire. To uncock or to decock, very simple. Go ahead and put your thumb of your firing hand on top of the hammer spur and take your thumb from your support hand and put it on top of the hammer itself. Then go ahead and pull the trigger and go ahead and ride the hammer forward very slowly, and everything's safe to open up the cylinder and your firearm will not shoot at this point. Take a look at where your lock notches or your stop notches are at, right here. Look at what direction they're rotating in. That'll give you an idea of what direction the cylinder will rotate. So here you have your slide gate. Go ahead and open that up. Now go ahead, load up your chamber. Go ahead and rotate it around. Okay, once everything's loaded, go ahead and close your slide gate. Now keep in mind this is a single action revolver, so if I were to pull the trigger, nothing happens. To operate, you pull the trigger back and then you can go ahead and fire. To decock, you want to go ahead and put your support thumb or your non-firing thumb on top of the hammer. You want to have your thumb from your firing hand on top of the hammer spur. Then go ahead and pull the trigger and ride it forward ever so gently. Now you have a decocked revolver. To unload, you open up the slide gate. Go ahead and rotate it to where you have a cartridge exposed in the chamber of the cylinder. Go ahead and push your ejector rod. Repeat this process until everything is emptied out of there. Whoop, missed that one, so I'll have to come back around. And then go ahead and verify. Make sure everything is removed as it should be. So it never hurts to double check each of the chambers of the cylinder. Now I've verified it's unloaded. I can go ahead and close my slide gate. Firearm is empty. Loading a magazine is very simple. Just go ahead and take your bullets. You have this notch right down over here. Go ahead and line it up and go ahead and put the cartridge in. Go ahead and put your thumb on the back of the cartridge using the back of the cartridge you're planning on putting back in. Put it right at the base of where the bullet is. To load your magazine, insert it inside the magazine well, tap it, make sure it's seated properly. You can observe the chamber and the round at the same time. Go ahead and pull back on the slide, release forward, and your firearm is ready to fire. To decock, this firearm has a decock mechanism. Go ahead and press down. Firearm is decocked. Remember, these are mechanical, so this could fail. This firearm is actually a double action. You pull the trigger and the hammer will drop. You could go ahead and lock it back and shoot it in a single action as well. To decock, the thumb of your support hand goes over the hammer. Squeeze the trigger, ride the hammer forward. Firearm is now decocked. You can go ahead and unload by pressing the magazine release. Clear the chamber by pulling the slide to the rear. Observe the chamber. Make sure everything's cleared out. Decock. And you can place your firearm in storage or clean. The back portion here is where you want to go ahead and slide your bullet forward, just as such. And that'll help you unload all your bullets from your magazine. This malfunction is what is known as a double feed. You have a spent cartridge casing that's inside the chamber. It's blocking or obstructing the path for a live round to go inside. Very simple method with this. You go ahead and lock the slide to the rear. Go ahead and drop your magazine. Hopefully everything falls out. If not, go ahead and rack the slide to the rear. Go ahead and observe the chamber. And you're good to go. This is a stovepipe malfunction. To clear this, drop your magazine. Pull your slide to the rear. Observe the chamber. Everything's clear. Insert magazine and fire when ready. Tap, rack, and assess. Very simple with this one. Go ahead and tap the bottom of your magazine and make sure that it's seated correctly. Rotate your firearm in the direction of your firing thumb side, or the thumb on your firing hand. Rotate it in this direction. You want to go ahead and rack the slide vigorously while observing the chamber to make sure that everything comes out and that there's no more obstructions. You want to pull the slide to the rear all the way through each and every time you do so. Once you go ahead and verify everything is clear and it's ready to shoot, go ahead and assess your target downrange and fire when you're ready. Your owner's manual is a good resource to utilize when you clean your firearms. Even if you've owned the firearm for several years, you still want to be able to have access to it, just to see what the manufacturer recommends as far as your cleaning and safe operation of the firearm. Prior to doing a function check on a firearm, you need to make sure that the firearm is clear, that there's no ammunition in the area, in the chamber of the firearm, or in the magazine. To start this, I'm going to put the magazine inside the magazine well. The magazine should stay perfectly locked in, it shouldn't slip out, and it should be easy to load in. Next step I'm going to do is pull the slide to the rear. The slide should lock in place. Next step, press the slide release, allow the slide to go forward. I'm going to test the decock mechanism now. The hammer fell and the trigger went forward. Press the magazine release, let the magazine fall out. It should go under its own weight. You shouldn't have to pull or work it to come out. This is a double action semi-automatic, so I'm going to pull the trigger twice to make sure that it operates correctly. Next step will be single action. Single action worked fine. Next, I'm going to pull the trigger while I'm pulling the slide to the rear. I'll hear a small click, and I'll pull the trigger. Function check is complete. Firearms in operating order.